The defender moves into him before claiming that space. Notice both feet are off the ground here, moving.
And you also notice the obvious direction that we're leaning in. We're leaning right into the defender. He's not trying to go baseline here. He's leaning into the contact.
Into the ball handler.
All right, welcome back to the show, everybody. Hope y'all are having a good day so far. So I had a request to check out this video from Thinking Basketball, and I'm actually really intrigued by this title. It is the NBA is letting offenses do whatever they want. And I was told I'm going to be very interested in this video, and they want my take on it. And honestly, all I can think from this title, and I hope it's correct, is finally Thinking Basketball is kind of accepting and waking up to the fact that, you know, the modern game, though it may be an interesting take on basketball, the referees aren't doing their jobs. So the last video I remember watching from Thinking was something about him. He was breaking down how defense is actually really good in the NBA. And it's not that I can like straight up disagree and say like defense is bad, but what my argument has been for years now is that we don't even know if these guys are capable of playing good defense because the referees won't allow it. Basically, the offenses are getting to get away with whatever they want. Offensive fouls, lowering the shoulder, you know, all this stuff we always talk about. They're getting away with it left and right. So the defense, you can't even do a damn thing on defense. Let's just be real. And sometimes even you stand there and do nothing, someone's gonna barrel, you know, just barrel right into you, charge into you, and you're still getting a defensive foul call. So I hope that's what this video is about, and I hope he's kind of woken up and accepted this, because Thinking Basketball is a huge voice in the basketball community. So yeah, it goes without explaining. Anyways, you guys, link is down below to the original video from Thinking, and you'll see a list of channel members. Shout out channel members. Appreciate you guys all. Usually the Thinking Basketball videos do get demonetized. I don't know what kind of a deal he's got with the NBA where he gets to use the footage, but this will definitely get demonetized, you guys. So thank you for the support. And yes, if you notice my voice is still off, my allergies are killing me, you guys, but it is what it is. Let's get on with the show, you guys. Like the video if you could, and hit that hype button if you could. I'd appreciate it. Let's rock.
Beautiful assist tonight. Thompson on a drive. Offensive foul.
Offensive foul? You think Stephen Curry splayed out on the pavement after that hit and run is an offensive foul?
It appears that Thompson went into the path of the defender.
Where was all of that contact created? And to me, it's created right there. With
That's an offensive foul.
Of his left shoulder and a little bit of a push-off also with his forearm.
Phew. I was worried there. We didn't all agree that that was an offensive... Wait. What's this?
Oh, no.
The call on the floor is going to be overturned to a blocking foul.
Oh, no. Okay, no. We already know it's bad. This is good. I think I was right. I think Thinking Basketball's come around. Let's do this, man. I want to hear his breakdown. This guy knows the game.
As Curry did not establish a legal guard position.
Ah, the legal guarding position, of course. Why did I think of that? What actually is a legal guarding position? Why are offensive fouls way down? Well, offenses are more efficient than ever.
Oh my God.
Does traveling exist anymore?
No, it doesn't.
I need to get to the bottom of this because right now
Guys. Oh, man. Now, I know that's Grayson Allen. I know he's a Phoenix Sun, but I just got to watch this again.
Fouls way down. Well, offenses
dribble.
are more...
Okay, you're about to do a 1-2 step, aren't you, to the left?
More efficient.
1-2. All right, so if you're there, it's over. You already took your 2 steps, man. What are you going to do now?
Then ever.
Plant? Okay. Now you better shoot the ball, and I know you're not gonna. Okay. So now you lifted your left. So even if you didn't take 2, all right, even if you didn't take 2 steps already, let's pretend like that didn't happen. Your right would be your pivot.
Travel.
And now you take a left step and you just lifted your pivot. What the hell is this? How many travels?
More. I need to get to the bottom of this because right now it appears that defenses are basically no longer allowed to play defense.
Agreed.
Okay, it is exactly 6:44, and I've watched about half of the Pistons game against the Wizards, and I'm freaking out because I don't think there's any rules anymore. I'm going to investigate, and I'm going to get to the bottom of this, and if you don't hear from me, I spontaneously combusted.
I mean, it's been my number one complaint is that, and it's not even that like we don't have the rules. We just don't enforce the rules. You know, for instance, recently we're talking about the no flopping rule. That's supposed to lead to a technical, remember? Remember when that got initiated? Yeah, well, you remember when that ever got enforced? I don't remember this ever getting enforced, and I see flopping every single night in the NBA.
Okay, I'm breaking down some Pistons film here, and look at this screen.
Oh no,
He's
illegal
moving,
screens. Yep.
But also turns his shoulder and drives through the defender like a football player. Now, when the Wizards bring the ball up the court, look at Marvin Bagley.
Yep.
To permit his opponent the opportunity to avoid contact. Okay.
Yeah, let me show you how you're supposed to be positioned for a screen. This is a dude. He's going to be standing facing towards you. All right. So not only you have to stand straight, but we would actually keep our hands in. Like, and we would kind of like almost like cusp our hands sometimes too. So we'd be flat, making sure we're like letting the ref know I'm in position. Okay, I'm in position for a legal screen. You can't call me for anything here. Nowadays, I mean, look and see what it is now, how loose it is now. By the way, you're not supposed to be able to move at all. Not one step, not one. You can't lean in. You got to just plant and stay flat.
Feeling a shoves his man backwards because why not? Then spins into it.
At what point did Cade Cunningham plant himself there? Never. And then he's going to do a little spin, isn't he?
Hip check to screen, and
what the hell is going on here?
Great
this
movie.
was a couple minutes later, and some of these players would make good offensive linemen in the NFL. I mean, you're supposed to stop and act as a wall for a defender to run through, not rush them like a tidal wave.
Yeah, and you can't use your hands like that too. Like this is just weird. He's gonna like kind of use his hands and push him
as a wall.
See, he's already on his back
for
there,
a defender to run
and
through.
then he shifted too. There's two violations right there in just a second.
Through, not rush them like a tidal wave. I don't know what's happening.
Welcome back.
Offenses have started this season again at a record-setting pace. And while offensive tactics continue to evolve, defenses continue to be handcuffed.
I don't know if they're allowed to play defense in today's NBA.
Dribbling rules have relaxed over the years. We've discussed that in detail before, most recently with a deep dive on the gather step. But this season in particular, there's been a shift in a few key areas where the offense is dictating physicality across the court, yet there are more defensive fouls than in nearly 2 decades.
Well, this is why it's bad to have a face of the league like LeBron James. I'm just going to point it out. It's the obvious thing. Who's the guy who's been getting away with this for years? It's been LeBron. So then eventually everybody else falls in line and says, screw this. If he can get away with this, why can't we? And then the referees they're handcuffed at that point because they're going, oh crap, yeah, we can't call it on them because now we're hypocrites. And that's how the rules get exploited. You can't let I don't care how big of a star anybody is, LeBron James, Michael Jordan, Steph Curry, you got to enforce the rules fairly or else this is how the dominoes fall.
We're talking about moving screens and primarily initiating contact with the ball like Amen Thompson, but being rewarded with free throws despite literally injuring Steph Curry because he Hulk smashed him so hard. Before we get to that, traveling has become an issue even beyond the gather step concepts we recently discussed.
Yep.
This is like 6 steps from Giannis after he gathers. So remember, to start a
Can I watch that one again?
An issue even beyond the gather step concepts.
Okay. All right. Is that his last dribble?
We recently discussed.
Oh. Okay. Okay. Well, I guess we call that a gather nowadays, even though there was one step before the gather.
This is like 6 steps from Giannis after he gathers. So remember, to start a dribble, you only get 1 step, not 2, which is a big deal for shooters or players not having to worry about dribbling. You know, that old thing.
Yeah, this drives me crazy.
2, 3, 4 steps before shooting.
That drives me crazy because it used to be the second the ball hits your fingertips, we start counting your steps.
And anytime you see a player hopping around like crazy like this, it's probably illegal because you aren't allowed to jump and land on the same foot.
2, 3.
And much more importantly, you are not allowed to drag your feet around the court. So this looks like a gather, then 1 and 2 legal steps, but look closely.
I think that's a good way to get injured too.
Left foot is step 1, then his right foot taps, then his left foot slides because that's the only way to take these crazy long strides and stay upright.
And we wonder why people's legs are falling apart.
And yeah, you can establish a pivot foot and then drag the other foot around, but you can't drag the second foot, and that's, I guess, an infinite step travel.
Wow.
This happens all.
Wow. Yeah, if you can get away with just dragging your foot constantly, then yeah, you can just get rid of travels altogether. We'll just slide around like idiots on the basketball court.
The time, but it's almost always happening on these long steps.
Yeah,
because,
it is.
You know, physics. So even this infamous Grayson Allen moonwalk, if we pretended that he actually gathered the ball with his left foot down on the 3-point line, that would make his right foot his first step. He's allowed to then pivot around off that foot and then release the ball on his second step before that right leg contacts the ground again. The only problem is, to make the move, he had to pick up that right pivot foot. Then he had to drag the back foot to support that crazy long stride, which makes the whole thing like a 6-step travel. Jordan Cornette nearly died inside counting this.
Grayson Allen.
Yeah, like if right here, wait. Oh, geez, no, because he already slid. Okay, hold on, let me back it up a second. Back it up. Good Lord. All right. Now, if he were to just like take off right here, off of that right leg, or if he planted this foot down and then he actually launched off together off of those 2 feet, we'd be okay. But this, come on, man.
Oh my God is right. So yeah, dribbling and carrying rules are looser than ever, but gather steps aside, there is a freakish amount of traveling supporting these new age dance steps, and it is almost never, ever called.
I know.
Speaking of traveling, my all-time favorite holiday film, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, is a movie about traveling and maybe basketball.
Larry Bird doesn't do as much ball handling in one night as you do in an hour. Are you trying to start a fight?
And it takes a team of great actors, writers, costume designers, and more to create such comedic brilliance, which is why you need to hire the right people to build a great team in entertainment or basketball or any other field. And the best way to do it is with ZipRecruiter, which you can try for free right now at ZipRecruiter.com/greatday. ZipRecruiter's matching technology quickly finds you top talent, and with their advanced resume database, instantly unlocks top candidates' contact information. 4 to 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within just 1 day. So go to ZipRecruiter.com/greatday. Again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/greatday and try it out for free. That's also how you support Thinking Basketball in these chaotic times. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. This is the tip of the iceberg for the abuse defenses have taken this season.
I mean, okay. Oh, man. By the way, before we break this down, that's the line, okay? As long as you're outside of that line and you plant yourself properly, that is, that's going to be an offensive foul. So let's see. Okay, outside of the line, just barely. He's perfectly planted here.
Abuse.
Come on, man. That's an offensive foul.
defenses have taken this season. Offensive players are crashing into defenders, and it's either a no call or a defensive foul.
So Derek, how about the physicality? I mean, he's knocking Mark Williams at 7'1", 240, a good 2 feet back.
I mean, 2 feet is cool, but what about lowering the boom and moving a 250-pound defender a good 5 feet through the air?
All right, thinking basketball, you better call out LeBron because he's been doing this for years, okay? Everybody else is just figuring it out. You gotta be fair here, man.
And to be clear, this defender is just hanging out in the path of the ball handler. His left foot is planted in front of him, but Norm Powell just smashes him out of the way, which is almost as fun as the human battering ram himself coming downhill and sending DeAndre Ayton 7 feet through the air. And what the league is saying here is that Ayton isn't perfectly still, so it's a defensive foul. But Ayton's right leg looks planted, and more importantly, the space to claim is under Ayton's arm. But Giannis drops his shoulder back into where Ayton was standing, which is why he flies 7 feet across the court. The contact point of these Hulk smashes is what makes them so antithetical to basketball history. Yes, the defender is moving, but defenders were allowed to move. A more classic defensive foul in this situation is this kind of block charge call, where the dribbler is attacking the open space and the defender moves into him before claiming that space. Notice both feet are off the ground here, moving.
And you also notice the obvious direction that we're leaning in. We're leaning right into the defender. He's not trying to go baseline here. He's leaning into the contact.
Into the ball handler. Although even here, the dribbler swerves back into him a bit, which is what's happening on these plays. A swerving into the defender. In other words, offensive players no longer need to win any space.
He ran over like a tractor trailer. He's still moving, huh?
Not bad enough we got rid of the hand check and all kinds of other stuff, but yeah, now they can just barrel roll right to the basket.
Just smash into moving defenders. So imagine this at mid-court. The offensive player's trying to win this space here, but instead just swerves off and smashes the defender. And this one was actually called an offensive foul, perhaps because the defender fell down, whereas most defenders have been trained to take the hit and stay upright. Now, as a reminder, about 10 to 15 years ago, any kind of offensive plow job was an offensive foul.
Absolutely.
Where if you got a shoulder in the middle of the chest, it was a charge. Actually,
I hate to keep bringing it up, but I've never seen anybody get away with this. And like I said, I've been watching basketball since like 1987. I've never seen anybody getting away with this until LeBron. As a Laker, I think is the first time I really started noticing it. So you could say about like 5 years ago, 6 years ago, that's when it started. But I never saw this leak into the rest of the league until recently. This is a new thing. And we got to correct it before it's too late, because now it's not just one guy doing it. It's everybody figuring out, oh, we can get away with this crap. Let's do it. Reminds me of all the crap James Harden was getting away with. You know, they didn't fix the problem until everybody else figured out, oh, if he can do it, I could do it too. And then the whole league started looking like a clown show. Well, we're getting there again. We got to fix this rule before it's too late.
Contact initiated by the offense like that was often called offensive. Kevin Durant gets the defender moving, but he also drops a shoulder, boom. And that was illegal for like the entire history of basketball.
It was. Because think about it. If you can just barrel roll into somebody, what's the point of a full court press? You can't trap anybody because they can just rip right through you.
Being the defender in the middle of the body, even when he was sliding, was pretty much universally agreed upon to be an offensive foul. Basically, you had to go around the defense instead of going through them. Yeah. The idea
let's just cut through it. If the offensive player is initiating the contact with the defensive player, it's an offensive foul. If the defensive player is initiating the contact with the offensive player, it's a defensive foul. Somehow these refs forgot the simple basics of this.
Smashing someone back with a shoulder was like an automatic no-brainer offensive foul, just like swerving into a defender was always illegal. But now it's normal for offensive players to put a bullseye on the defender's chest and veer into them. Instead of driving toward the basket here, Tyrese Maxey swerves into John Collins and sends him flying like 5 feet. And of course, that's free throws for Maxey this season.
Okay, but that one was midair though, right?
5 feet. And of course, that's free throw.
Yeah, it's right on the cusp there. But I mean, if this is midair, and it's hard though because Maxey is initiating the contact. This one's harder than the other ones because it's always difficult to make a call when it's 2 players in midair and there's contact.
Goes for Maxey this season. Falling down as the defender definitely helped. Again, players aren't flopping back on most of these hits anymore, but it was never required.
Hey, we got one LeBron clip. Well done.
Any hit to the middle of a defender that dislodged them was likely an offensive foul because, and I know this is crazy talk, if you hit a defender in the chest, you did not beat the defender.
No, you didn't.
I have no idea why this changed, but you don't actually have to get around anyone anymore. You just plow them out of the way.
Jeez, that's like 3 offensive fouls. Look at this.
And notice James Harden using that off arm like a club against Maxey here, and it's a foul on Maxey.
How's that a foul on Maxey? Dude, how he got shoved and pushed and hit like 3 times.
This is another common tactic dribblers use, just clubbing defenders with their off arm or sticking their non-dribbling arm in front of them like a shield to discard defenders as needed. We looked at this in a recent video for Thinking Basketball members where Austin Reeves was just arm barring his defender.
Yeah, you can't do that. God, oh man. I mean, you could use your off arm to position. Think like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. You could use your off arm to create space by leaving it in a position. But you can't use it to actually shove an opponent.
A more common tactic around the league to protect the dribble.
This is stupid.
Off arm, trying to fight off physical defense right there. You see that?
What is that?
Push off.
What did I tell you about the offhand all year? It's been going on all year.
Yeah.
Again, these were offensive fouls until very, very recently.
They're obvious ones.
Any off-arm activity was a fairly vanilla call.
Good spacing by the Celtics, and that is an offensive foul. Little elbow.
Just minor little elbows meant an offensive foul because you were not supposed to use your off arm as a club, shield, weapon, whatever. There's barely any contact here, but a discard was a foul. And sure, defensive flopping certainly accentuated these little discards, but notice how subtle these were. You simply weren't supposed to use your off arm like this while dribbling. That's why for 2 decades, there was a debate about whether Jordan pushed Brian Russell on his final shot. Even a little nudge was strictly forbidden for basically all of basketball history. But based on 2026 officiating, Chris Paul would be fouled here on this little hand check. He'd be allowed to discard that hand check, but this was a normal offensive foul back then.
Offensive foul. Good call. No argument from Chris Paul either.
So this season, players are really looking to assault defenders with that off arm, so you don't really have to make any basketball move to get open. You just shove them out of the way. Yay.
Yay.
Heck, the old spin hook move isn't even called that much anymore either, but pretty much any kind of hook.
That was quick. Let me see that again. Hold up.
You just shove them out of the way. Yay. Heck, the old spin hook move isn't even called that much anymore either.
For sure.
But pretty much any kind of hooking in the post in the past was an automatic foul or caused an uproar. Look at LeBron's reaction here. After Paul Pierce gives him a little wraparound action, he stops playing. He's so apoplectic because it took a second to blow the whistle. The result of all of this is a rise in defensive foul rates this season. If we look at free throws per field goal attempt, this is the highest ratio we've seen in 15 years, well before the boom in outside shooting changed the game. And we're seeing more defensive fouls per drive compared to any other season in the camera tracking era. And this coincides with fewer turnovers than ever on these drives.
Yeah, for sure.
These changes seem small.
I know,
but
could you imagine how many turnovers there would be if they actually called the rules properly? Last little thing I really want to speak out on about this whole thing is sports in general. Sports are not exciting when you make it easy. They're exciting when it's difficult. Analogy. How exciting would golf be if you took away the rough and you took away the bunkers and you took away all the trees and you took away all the water? It was all just fairway and greens. It would be pretty boring, right? There's no obstacles in your path. You're just score, score, score. That's how I feel about the NBA now. There's no longer any obstacle for the offensive player. You just have a green light to score and get away with whatever you want to. And there's no obstacle because the defender can't do a damn thing. Can't do a damn thing. And even when they don't do a damn thing, they still get punished.
Remember, players self-correct based on how the game is called.
What is that?
So they're happening while defenses are trying to adapt. Take offensive foul rates. They're back up this season compared to last year, but I'd argue that's because offensive players have been way more aggressive in 2026. When we zoom out, we see a much larger trend. Offensive fouls started to decline after the bubble in 2020, and since drives increased, offensive fouls per drive were nearly sliced in half over the preceding decade. And we haven't even mentioned that the new Euro step can give players invincibility stars, where if you gather and start Euroing around, you can apparently just steamroll defenders. This isn't always
blocking foul.
Called the defensive foul all the time, but it's yet another major change in the gather.
Oh man, this video's got to end. Yeah, God, you can't go. You can't charge. That's why it's called a charge. You can't charge into the defender. God. Man, great video though. Great video. Thinking basketball. I'm glad you're calling out this crap. It's just painful to watch all this.
Step era that gives defenders basically zero recourse. Whereas the original Euro steps looked more like one step to the side, and that certainly did not provide invincibility for the ball handler.
Charge. That's what was so exciting. It was so exciting to see what new methods people can think of in order to get around their opponent, not through their opponent, around. And then you got high flyers like Michael Jordan and Vince Carter and stuff, Dominique Wilkins. They found a way to either get around or over their opponents because, once again, you can't go through them. Now we're missing all that. It's just go right through.
Based change is what counts as in the act of shooting. Players will often be dribbling, feel contact like a hand check, then shoot and get free throws. The rules say this should still be on the floor, by the way. And this is a far cry from the old days when you had to be in the act of shooting for it to be in the act versus a player driving, getting hit, and then going into the shooting motion.
They gave it to, and they say it is in the act. And Jaylen Brown.
Wow. Let me see that one again.
And they say it is in the act. And Jaylen Brown.
He had no intention of shooting the ball there.
They gave it to, and they say it is.
He's driving. He's driving. At what point do you believe that he's going to shoot this ball? He's not. He's driving to the basket right now. He doesn't even have the ball in his hand. How are you going to shoot the ball without the ball in your hand? That's a shooting motion? Guys, this is what the act of shooting looks like now? The refs know. I'm sorry, the announcers know.
I don't know anymore. I just don't know.
Today, continuation is supposed to begin on the gather, but that means players who are gathering just to protect their dribble are getting free throws when they weren't necessarily going to shoot.
Exactly.
So if they called this reach-in foul here, that's supposed to be 2 free throws, even if the player was going to pass. So in addition to allowing more steps, the gather rule has widened the scope of a shooting foul by quite a bit. And the last major area that jumped the shark and motivated this video is moving screens.
Yeah.
Again, falling down seems to be almost a requirement to draw a foul, even when the screener doesn't seem to move that much.
You're right, which all that does in the end is actually encourage more defenders to flop, because it might be the only way they'll actually get a fair call on defense, which just makes the whole NBA worse. Like, I don't understand why we don't just like address the problems and fix the problems. Like, we just keep there's a hole in this ship, man. And instead of patching up the hole, we just keep removing water, like patch the hole.
Because the rest of the time, players are just shoving and pushing and twisting their way into screens and breaking rules left and right, like spreading their legs wide, which is explicitly prohibited.
What the hell is that?
You're supposed to keep them shoulder width, but that's almost never called. And here Jock Landale goes back for more, tries to move with the defender, but he guesses wrong, tries to stick out that left leg to block him anyway, and this is just chaos. Players are also screening by pushing with their arms. This is a new age technique and leads to this sort of football pass protection type blocking we saw earlier in that Pistons game, where screeners are running into defenders and dislodging them, or they're running into defenders and driving through them like they're blocking for Barry Sanders.
59 moving screens weren't called.
And there's even the business of players setting fake screens, but actually connecting, and that's not always called. It's just anarchy. Add this all up, and it's no wonder we just saw the most efficient opening month in NBA history by far.
Yeah, go figure.
And yes, the evolution of strategy and skill we talk about all the time is one major driving factor here, but we know that officiating style can favor offense or defense as well. Since the bubble, there is a very strong relationship between league-wide offensive rating and shooting fouls called per 100 possessions. Turnovers, charges, gather steps, all of this matters, and it's all pretty complicated. We know players adjust, but the change in shooting foul rates called is enough to predict who is winning possessions, or basically whether the offense or defense is allowed to get away with more contact. This is a philosophical choice. I'm not saying it's objectively good or bad, but I think it's a problem if we care about defense or having a competitive balance that resembles the 40 years of growth after the ABA-NBA merger. After all, that was when the game exploded behind the play styles of Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, and Michael Jordan, players who thrived under an old set of rules before the sharp turn toward video game offense we've seen recently. Those rules required a ton of individual counters and solutions against elite physical defenders.
I think that what makes basketball...
Real quick. You notice how Michael Jordan is about to swipe at the hand here?
Against elite physical...
Let me back it up a little more.
Rules required a ton of individual counters and solutions.
You could swipe at the hand. That's what you're allowed to do. Nothing else. But if he were to actually like use his hand and make contact with the chest or the stomach or the back or the side or anything, that would have been an offensive foul.
Against elite physical defenders.
He just absorbed it and went around the contact.
What makes basketball great, but what makes the NBA great historically? We see the best athletes in the world, the most skilled, the tallest, the fastest, the longest, making incredibly athletic plays. Despite equally athletic and talented people and very smart coaches trying to stop them. Our best memories are when, our LeBrons and when our Kobes and our Jordans, when they, have the world thrown at them and they still produce. Like, we love that. But the ability to see them produce at the highest level against all odds, against all comers, has been diminished. And in my opinion, that is where we've sort of lost something as a league.
I personally think NBA refs are really good at enforcing what the league wants enforced. That's why the lack of travels is so baffling to me. But I think the bigger...
Man. You couldn't even get away with that in middle school back in my day.
Question here is about competitive balance, about what it even means for someone like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to put up numbers that would have been cartoonishly impossible in prior generations. And personally, I love defense.
Me too.
I have that bias as a fan. But I like offense even more because when it beats great defense, that's the pinnacle of basketball to me. Otherwise, it feels a little meaningless when the difficulty level is set to 0.
Yeah, it's... Since you brought up Barry Sanders, can you imagine... I'll save it for the end. We're at the end.
0. So this may be the most talented era for offensive players we've ever seen. The tactics and strategy...
Yeah, it might be, but we'll never know because they're never going to face that defensive challenge that will truly put them to the test.
Certainly blow away the approach of yesteryear, but I personally don't really have a feel for how great some of these individual stars actually are when offenses are pretty much allowed to do whatever they want.
To support this channel.
That's a great video. Fantastic video. Go check out Thinking Basketball's channel. Link is down below in the description. Man, since you brought up Barry Sanders, like, it's... Okay, you think of like his greatest runs of all time. Amazing, by the way. I think I've done a reaction to it. Like, the guy is phenomenal. But what makes those plays so special? Those scoring drives so special? It's because the defense is everywhere, okay? He's doing the impossible, bouncing off of the defenders, rolling off of the defenders, doing all these things like we didn't think was possible on a football field. But if you take away all that contact, you know, and nobody touches Barry, and he just, you know, straight line right to the goal. What's the point? You know, the scoring becomes just watered down and boring. And this is why, like, you know, people my age, we all say, like, man, take these guys and put them in the 80s or the 90s and see if they can survive. Because I don't think they can, but here's the deal. The worse this is getting and the longer this goes on, the less I'm getting mad at the players. Because why get mad at the players? They're not getting called for any of these violations. So me and you as the viewer, we see these are clear violations. But if the enforcers aren't calling it, then why do you care? You know what I mean? If there's no, it's like crime. If there's no punishment for crime, crime's gonna go up, y'all. You know, like, that's just how it is. So sport is no different. If there's no punishment for violations, violations are gonna go up. But at the same time, they're not being reported and recorded because we're letting it slide. So this is how I see, like, the NBA has gone downhill and will continue to go downhill unless we fix these problems. And I love this game, and I really hope we fix these problems. But this is one of those Adam Silver things, you know? You're the only one who can fix this. You're in charge of this whole operation. And I challenge you, Adam Silver, because the guy who came before you and taught you everything you know, David Stern, he would not let this slide. And you're letting everything slide. You're not addressing anything except for business. That's all you talk about is the business of basketball. But the game of basketball, it's in a bad spot, man. And you're the one in charge of it all. So if anyone's going to fix it, it's going to be you. Refs aren't calling these things. Make the refs do it, or else you replace these refs. This is how it works in any other job. Okay? So moving forward, I'm going to do my best to blame the players a little less, because they're playing in the playground and doing whatever they're allowed to get away with, you know, just like anybody does in anything in life. Why play by the rules if the rules don't count? If the rules aren't enforced, might as well just do your best. And, you know, you get paid more if you average more. So, okay, let's just go score more then. Screw it. I'll get paid more money next contract. You know, they're not going to call this anyway. Screw it. So, yeah, who's to blame for this? One, the refs, but big time. You know, refs can come and go. The commissioner sticks around. It's really Adam Silver. So I'm putting all the responsibility on you guys to fix this damn problem before it continues to get worse. And every single year it's getting worse. And also, stop wasting our time with bringing in new rules unless you're going to actually enforce those rules. Okay? What's the point of the no flopping rule if you're not going to actually enforce that and dish out technical fouls to floppers? What's the point? So anyways, stop wasting our time, NBA. We're out of here. I'm out of here, guys. Like the vid if you could. Subscribe to the channel if you want more contact. I keep saying contact. Subscribe to my channel if you want more content like this. And most importantly, y'all, is to be water, my friends. Thanks for watching. And yeah, hit that hype button if you want to amplify this message. Peace out.